In the quiet depths of space, far beyond the twinkling stars visible from Earth, a massive alien fleet drifted helplessly. Their sleek, silver ships, once proud and powerful, now hung motionless against the backdrop of unfamiliar constellations. The aliens, tall beings with iridescent skin and large, thoughtful eyes, moved about their vessels in growing panic. Captain Zorax, leader of the fleet, stared out of the command center's viewport. His normally vibrant scales had dulled to a worried gray. "How long until life support fails?" he asked, his voice a low, musical hum. His second-in-command, Vila, consulted a holographic display. 30 Earth days, Captain," she replied, her own scales shifting to a somber blue. "Our power cores are depleted. We can't move, and soon we won't be able to sustain ourselves." Zorax's antennae drooped. Their mission to explore this uncharted region of space had gone horribly wrong. A strange energy field had disabled their advanced technology, leaving them stranded light years from home. They had tried everything to escape, but nothing worked. "We have no choice," Zorax said, straightening his tall frame. "Prepare the quantum transmitter. We must call for help." On the third planet of a yellow star, in a small, cluttered room filled with humming machines, Dr. Emily Chen yawned and stretched. Another quiet night at SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. She had dreamed of this job since childhood, hoping to be the one to make first contact. But after years of listening to the stars, she was starting to lose hope. Emily's colleague, Dr. James Wilson, entered with 2 steaming cups of coffee. "Anything exciting?" he asked, knowing the answer would be no. "Just the usual cosmic background noise," Emily replied, taking a grateful sip. "Sometimes I wonder if we're alone out here, you know." James nodded sympathetically. "Keep the faith, Em. The universe is vast. Someone's got to be out there." As if on cue, one of the monitors began to beep insistently. Emily nearly spilled her coffee as she rushed to the screen. "James, look at this." The monitor displayed a series of complex waveforms, unlike anything they had ever seen before. It wasn't random noise or a pulsar or any known celestial phenomenon. This was a pattern, an intelligent pattern. Is it? Is it really? James couldn't finish the sentence, his voice shaking with excitement. Emily's fingers flew over the keyboard, running the signal through various analysis programs. "It's not coming from any known source," she said, her voice rising in pitch. "And look at the complexity. This isn't a naturally occurring phenomenon." As they watched, the signal began to change, shifting into recognizable mathematical sequences, prime numbers, Fibonacci series. And then, incredibly, it began to transmit what looked like coordinates. "My God," James whispered. "It's a message, a distress call." Emily's heart raced. This was it, the moment she had been waiting for her entire life. "We need to alert the director. Now." Within hours, the quiet SETI facility had transformed into a hive of activity. Scientists, government officials, and military personnel swarmed the building. The news spread like wildfire through secure channels. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. In Washington, D.C., President Alicia Hawkins sat in the Oval Office, surrounded by her top advisors. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mixture of excitement and fear. "Madam President," General Mark Stevens began, "we've confirmed the signal's authenticity. It's not a hoax or a misinterpretation. We are being contacted by an alien civilization." President Hawkins leaned forward, her eyes intense. "And they're asking for help." Dr. Chen, flown in from SETI, nodded. "Yes, Madam President. From what we can decipher, their fleet is stranded. They're running out of time." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity, a young species that had barely left its own planet, was being called upon to save an advanced alien civilization. "The question is," a Secretary of State said slowly, "do we answer?" President Hawkins stood, looking at each person in the room. We've wondered for centuries if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, and our cosmic neighbors need our help. She paused, a small smile forming on her lips. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make history. Prepare a response team. Humanity is going to the stars. As the room erupted into action, outside the White House, the sun rose on a new era for Earth. Humanity was about to take its first real steps into the galactic community, and unknown to them, their actions in the coming days would not only save a stranded alien fleet, but would also cement their place among the stars as a species of ingenuity, courage, and compassion. The adventure was just beginning. The next few days on Earth were a whirlwind of activity. In every major city, people gathered around screens, watching as world leaders announced the incredible news. We are not alone in the universe, and we have been called upon to help. At NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, a diverse group of experts from around the world assembled. They were the best and brightest humanity had to offer, chosen for the most important mission in human history. Dr. Emily Chen, the SETI scientist who first detected the signal, found herself at the center of it all. As she walked into the main briefing room, she felt the weight of 1,000 eyes upon her. Dr. Chen, a tall, stern-looking man, approached her. "I'm Colonel Jake Harper, Mission Commander. Your work got us here. Now we need you to help us communicate with our new friends." Emily nodded, trying to hide her nervousness. "I'll do my best, Colonel." The briefing room buzzed with activity. Engineers pored over designs for retrofitting Earth's most advanced spacecraft. Linguists debated the best methods for translating an alien language. Medical experts discussed potential biological issues of interspecies contact. President Hawkins appeared on a large screen, her face serious but hopeful. "You are about to embark on the most important journey in human history," she said. "The eyes of the world are upon you. Good luck, and Godspeed." As the team made final preparations, news came that changed everything. The alien fleet, using the last of their power, had managed to send a more detailed message. They weren't just stranded, they were being pursued. Colonel Harper called an emergency meeting. "Listen up, people. We've got new intel. Our alien friends are refugees. They're running from something, and whatever it is, it's not friendly." A murmur ran through the room. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the mission's chief engineer, spoke up. "Does this change our mission parameters, sir?" Harper's jaw clenched. "It complicates things, but our goal remains the same. We're going out there to help. Now we just need to be prepared for anything." The launch day arrived sooner than anyone expected. As the sun rose over Cape Canaveral, 3 sleek spacecraft stood ready on the launch pads. They represented the pinnacle of human technology, hastily modified for deep space travel. Emily stood with the rest of the crew, clad in her new spacesuit. Her heart pounded as she looked at the rockets. In a few hours, they would be leaving Earth behind, venturing into the unknown. "Nervous?" a voice asked. Emily turned to see Dr. Amir Kauri, the mission's xenobiologist, smiling at her. "Terrified," Emily admitted. "You?" Amir laughed. "Of course, but also excited. We're about to make history." The boarding call came. As Emily climbed into the spacecraft, she took one last look at the blue sky above. The next time she saw it, everything would be different. The countdown began. Emily closed her eyes, feeling the rumble of the engines beneath her. With a deafening roar, the spacecraft lifted off, pushing against Earth's gravity. As they broke through the atmosphere, Emily opened her eyes. The blackness of space spread out before them, dotted with stars. Somewhere out there, an alien civilization was waiting for them. Colonel Harper's voice came over the intercom. "All right, team. We're on our way. Let's go make first contact." The journey to the alien fleet's coordinates would take several weeks. During this time, the crew trained relentlessly. They practiced emergency procedures, studied the alien messages, and prepared for every scenario they could imagine. Emily spent most of her time with the communication team, working on deciphering more of the alien language. Every day brought new breakthroughs and new questions. One evening, as Emily floated in the observation deck, staring out at the stars, Dr. Tanaka joined her. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Yuki said, gesturing at the vista before them. Emily nodded. "I've dreamed of this my whole life. Being out here, going to meet aliens. But now that it's happening, it's overwhelming." Yuki finished for her. "I know. But think about it, Emily. We're not just exploring space. We're about to save an entire civilization. If that's not humanity at its best, I don't know what is." As they watched, a faint light in the distance caught Emily's eye. It wasn't a star. It was moving, pulsing with an otherworldly glow. "Yuki," Emily whispered, pointing. "I think that's them." Yuki's eyes widened. She reached for the intercom. "Bridge, this is Dr. Tanaka. I think we've found our aliens." As alarms began to sound throughout the ship, Emily took a deep breath. The moment of first contact was upon them. Whatever happened next would change the course of human history forever. Humanity's greatest adventure was about to begin. The human spacecraft approached the alien fleet with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. As they drew closer, the true scale of the alien vessels became apparent. They were enormous, easily dwarfing the human ships. Colonel Harper's voice crackled over the intercom. "All hands, prepare for first contact. Dr. Chen, you're up." Emily took a deep breath and moved to the communication station. Her hand shook slightly as she activated the transmitter. "This is Dr. Emily Chen of Earth. We received your distress call, and we're here to help." For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a response came. The alien language was unlike anything they had ever heard. A series of musical tones and clicks. But thanks to their preparation, Emily and her team could understand the basics. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the message translated. "We are the Zoraks. Your arrival brings us great joy and relief." As the two groups began to communicate, it became clear that the situation was even more dire than they had realized. The Zorak ships were running on emergency power, and their life support systems were failing. "We need to board their ship," Colonel Harper decided. "Dr. Tanaka, prep your engineering team. Dr. Curry, get ready for possible medical situations." The docking procedure was tense. Human engineering had never been designed to interface with alien technology. But slowly, carefully, they managed to create an airtight seal between the ships. As the airlock opened, Emily found herself face to face with an alien for the first time. The Zoraks were tall, with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer with colors. Their large, expressive eyes looked at the humans with a mixture of hope and curiosity. "Welcome," the alien said, its voice a melodious hum. "I am Captain Zorax. We are eternally grateful for your aid." Emily smiled, fighting back tears of awe. "We're honored to help," she replied. The human team spread out through the alien ship, marveling at the advanced technology even as they worked to understand and repair it. Dr. Tanaka and her engineers faced their greatest challenge yet, deciphering and fixing systems far beyond human understanding. "It's like trying to repair a quantum computer with stone tools," Yuki muttered, staring at a pulsing energy conduit. "But we've got to try." Meanwhile, Dr. Curry worked with the Zorax medical team, exchanging knowledge about their respective biologies. "Their cellular structure is fascinating," he reported excitedly. "It's so different, yet in some ways so similar to our own." As hours turned into days, the humans made slow but steady progress. They worked tirelessly, pushing the boundaries of their knowledge and capabilities. The Zorax watched in amazement as the humans tackled problems with a creativity and determination they had never seen before. "Your species is quite remarkable," Captain Zorax said to Colonel Harper. "We have encountered many civilizations, but none quite like yours." Harper nodded, a hint of pride in his voice. "Humanity has always been at its best when facing a challenge. We don't give up easily." But just as they began to make real headway, alarms blared throughout the fleet. Emily rushed to the communication center, her heart pounding. The message she received chilled her to the bone. "Colonel," she called out, her voice tight with fear. "We've got incoming. The ones chasing the Zorax. They found us." The crew gathered around the view screen, watching in horror as a massive shape emerged from the darkness of space. It was a ship, if you could call it that, more like a floating city, bristling with weapons. "By the stars," Captain Zorax whispered, "it's the Kreldor. They've come to finish what they started." Colonel Harper's jaw set in determination. Well, they're in for a surprise. Humanity didn't come all this way to give up now. All hands, battle stations. As the human crew scrambled to prepare for the incoming threat, Emily couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. They had come to save a stranded alien fleet, and now they were about to face an even greater challenge. But looking around at her fellow humans, she saw no fear, only determination. The journey that had begun as a rescue mission was about to turn into something much more. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The greatest test was yet to come, but Emily knew one thing for certain. They would face it together, humans and Zorax united against a common foe. The next chapter of their adventure was about to unfold, and the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The massive Kreldor ship loomed ever closer, its weapon systems glowing with ominous energy. Inside the Zorax fleet, humans and aliens worked frantically to prepare for the coming battle. Colonel Harper stood on the bridge, his face grim. "What are we up against, Captain Zorax?" The alien leader's scales shimmered with anxiety. "The Kreldor are conquerors. They seek to absorb all advanced civilizations into their empire. We refused, so they chased us across the galaxy." Dr. Tanaka burst onto the bridge, her eyes wide with excitement. "Colonel, I think I found something. The Zorax ships have a defensive system we hadn't noticed before. It's incredibly powerful, but it's offline." "Can you get it working?" Harper asked. Yuki's face fell. "That's the problem. The system is so advanced, I can barely understand it. It's like trying to explain calculus to a caveman." Emily, who had been listening intently, suddenly had an idea. "Wait a minute. Maybe we're approaching this all wrong. We've been trying to understand the alien tech on their terms. But what if we apply human thinking to it?" She turned to Captain Zorax. "Your technology is based on harmony and resonance, right? What if we treat it less like a machine and more like an orchestra?" The alien's eyes widened in surprise. "An intriguing analogy. Please, explain further." Over the next hour, as the Kreldor ship drew ever nearer, humans and Zorax worked together in a way never before seen. Engineers and scientists from both species combined their knowledge, looking at the problem from entirely new angles. Dr. Kauri, the xenobiologist, found himself working alongside Zorax engineers, applying his understanding of alien biology to the ship's systems. "It's not just a machine," he exclaimed. "The ship is almost alive." Meanwhile, Emily and Yuki led a team in reprogramming the defense system. They used music theory and wave harmonics, treating the alien code like a complex symphony. As the final pieces fell into place, the Kreldor ship entered weapons range. A booming voice echoed through space. "Zorax fugitives, surrender now. Your human allies cannot save you." Colonel Harper exchanged a look with Captain Zorax, ready to prove them wrong. The alien captain nodded, a human-like smile on his face. "Let us show them the power of our alliance." Harper gave the command, "Activate the defense system." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a beautiful, otherworldly hum filled the air. The Zorax ships began to glow, enveloped in a shimmering field of energy. The Kreldor opened fire, their weapons blazing across space. But as the energy blasts hit the defensive field, something incredible happened. Instead of causing damage, the attacks were absorbed, making the shield stronger. "It's working." Yuki shouted in disbelief. The defense system is using their own energy against them. The Kreldor, clearly not expecting this turn of events, increased their assault. But the more they attacked, the stronger the Zorax ships became. Emily watched in awe as the energy field grew, pulsing with colors she had never seen before. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Suddenly, the field expanded rapidly, engulfing the Kreldor ship. For a moment, the massive vessel was outlined in shimmering light. Then, with a flash, its weapons and engines went dark. Silence fell over the battlefield. The Kreldor ship drifted powerless in space, all its systems shut down by the defensive pulse. Cheers erupted throughout the Zorax fleet. Humans and aliens embraced, celebrating their impossible victory. Colonel Harper turned to Captain Zorax, a look of wonder on his face. "I can't believe we actually did it." The alien captain's scales glowed with joy. "This is more than a victory, Colonel. Your people have shown us a new way of thinking. Together, we have achieved the impossible." As the celebration continued, Emily found herself staring out at the stars. They had faced a challenge beyond anything humanity had ever encountered, and they had succeeded. But she couldn't help wondering what other wonders and dangers were waiting for them out in the vast expanse of space. The Kreldor had been defeated, but this was just the beginning. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger galaxy, full of both peril and promise, and they had made their mark in a way no one could have predicted. As humans and Zorax worked together to secure their victory and plan their next moves, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same again. In the days following their victory over the Kreldor, an air of excitement and curiosity filled both the human and Zorax ships. With the immediate danger past, both species now had the opportunity to learn more about each other. Captain Zorax invited the human leaders to a grand feast aboard the Zorax flagship. As Emily entered the alien dining hall, she gasped in wonder. The room was alive with colors that seemed to dance in the air, and soft, melodic tones played from unseen sources. "Welcome, friends," Captain Zorax said, his scales shimmering with joy. "Today, we celebrate not just our victory, but the beginning of a new friendship between our peoples." The humans were seated at a long, curved table that seemed to grow out of the floor. Strange, beautiful fruits and dishes were laid out before them, their aromas both familiar and alien at the same time. Dr. Cowrie, ever the scientist, couldn't help but analyze everything he saw. "Fascinating," he muttered, examining a glowing blue fruit. "Their food seems to be bioengineered to provide perfect nutrition." Colonel Harper nudged him gently. "Remember, Amir, we're here as guests, not researchers." As the feast progressed, humans and Zorax shared stories of their respective worlds. The aliens were particularly fascinated by Earth's diverse ecosystems and the myriad of cultures that existed on a single planet. "Your world sounds like a paradise of variety," one Zorax elder said, her voice filled with wonder. "Our people have lived among the stars for so long, we had forgotten the beauty of a single living world." In return, the Zorax shared tales of their travels across the galaxy, describing wonders that made the humans' heads spin. Planets with rings of fire, creatures that lived in the vacuum of space, and stars that sang as they died. Emily found herself deep in conversation with a young Zorax scientist named Excel. They discussed the differences and similarities in how their species approached problem-solving. "Your human creativity is remarkable," Cell said, his scales flickering with excitement. "You see connections where we see only separate parts. It's how you manage to activate our defense system in a way we never imagined." Emily smiled. "And your understanding of harmony and resonance is beyond anything we've achieved. Imagine what we could accomplish if we combined our knowledge." As the feast went on, more and more ideas were exchanged. Dr. Tanaka and a group of Zorax engineers were already sketching out designs for new hybrid technologies. Dr. Cowrie was excitedly discussing the possibility of adapting Zorax medical techniques for human use. Even Colonel Harper, usually reserved, found himself caught up in the spirit of exchange. He and Captain Zorax were deep in conversation about leadership philosophies and the challenges of commanding a fleet in deep space. As the celebration wound down, Captain Zorax called for attention. "My friends," he said, his voice resonating through the hall, "today marks the beginning of a new era for both our peoples. We have much to learn from each other, and together, we can achieve greatness beyond our wildest dreams." He raised a glass filled with a shimmering liquid. "To the future, and to the power of unity in diversity." The humans and Zorax cheered, the sound of their combined voices creating a beautiful harmony that seemed to make the very air vibrate with possibility. As Emily looked around the room, she saw hope and excitement on every face, human and alien alike. They had come together to face a common threat, and in doing so, had discovered a friendship that transcended the boundaries of species and culture. Later, as the humans prepared to return to their ship, Dr. Tanaka approached Emily with a gleam in her eye. "Emily," she said, barely containing her excitement, "the Zorax have agreed to show us some of their advanced engineering labs. Can you imagine what we might learn?" Emily nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "And we'll share our knowledge with them in return. This is just the beginning, Yuki. Who knows where this partnership might lead us?" As they boarded the shuttle back to the human ship, Emily took one last look at the Zorax vessel. Its sleek lines and shimmering hull no longer seemed alien, but filled with promise and potential. The journey that had begun as a rescue mission had transformed into something far greater. It was the dawn of a new age of exploration and cooperation, with humanity and the Zorax standing side by side, ready to face the wonders and challenges of the galaxy together. As the shuttle departed, Emily couldn't help but smile. The universe, she realized, had just become a much bigger and more exciting place. As days turned into weeks, the combined human-Zorax fleet made steady progress towards the Zorax homeworld. The journey was long, but filled with discovery and collaboration. However, a new challenge soon arose that would test the limits of their newfound alliance. One morning, alarms blared throughout the fleet. Emily rushed to the bridge, her heart pounding. "What's happening?" she asked, seeing the grim faces of both human and Zorax crew members. Captain Zorax's scales had turned a deep, worried blue. "We've received a distress signal from our homeworld. The Kreldor. They've launched a full-scale invasion." Colonel Harper's face hardened. "How long until we reach your planet?" "At our current speed, 3 Earth days," a Zorax navigator answered. "That's not fast enough," Harper said, shaking his head. "We need to get there now." Dr. Tanaka, who had been working closely with Zorax engineers, spoke up. "I might have an idea. It's risky, but it could work." All eyes turned to her as she explained. "We've been studying the Zorax faster-than-light drive. With some modifications, we might be able to create a stable wormhole. It could get us there almost instantly." "A wormhole?" Emily gasped. "Is that even possible?" Zil, the young Zorax scientist, nodded excitedly. "Theoretically, yes, but we've never attempted it on this scale before." Captain Zorax looked at Colonel Harper. "The risk is great, but so is the need. What do you think, Colonel?" Harper's eyes swept across the bridge, taking in the determined faces of both humans and Zorax. "I say we do it. Let's show the Kreldor what our two species can do together." The next hours were a frenzy of activity, human ingenuity combined with Zorax technology in ways never before imagined. Dr. Tanaka and Cell led a team of engineers working tirelessly to modify the fleet's engines. Emily found herself in the thick of it, using her communication skills to ensure smooth cooperation between the human and Zorax teams. "It's like conducting an orchestra," she thought, but the music could either save a world or tear a hole in space-time. As the deadline approached, tension mounted. The modifications were in place, but there was no way to test them. It would be all or nothing. Colonel Harper's voice came over the intercom. "All hands, prepare for wormhole jump. This is what we came out here for, people. Let's make history." Emily strapped herself into her seat, exchanging a nervous glance with Dr. Corey. "Ready for another miracle?" she asked with a shaky smile. "Always," he replied, gripping his armrests tightly. Captain Zorax gave the command. "Activate the wormhole drive." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the ship began to vibrate. Outside the viewports, space itself seemed to bend and twist. A swirling vortex of energy appeared before the fleet, growing larger by the second. "It's working," Dr. Tanaka shouted over the rumble of the engines. "Wormhole stability at 95% and holding." "All ships, proceed into the wormhole," Colonel Harper ordered, his voice steady despite the unprecedented situation. One by one, the ships of the fleet entered the swirling portal. The sensation was unlike anything the crew had ever experienced. It felt as if they were being stretched and compressed at the same time, reality itself bending around them. And then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. The fleet emerged into normal space, and gasps of awe filled the bridge. Before them lay the Zorax homeworld, a beautiful blue-green planet. But the scene was far from peaceful. The sky was filled with Kreldor ships, raining destruction upon the planet below. "We made it," Emily breathed, hardly believing her eyes. Colonel Harper stood, his face set with determination. "And not a moment too soon. All hands, battle stations. We've got a world to save." As the fleet moved into attack formation, Emily felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. They had crossed the galaxy in the blink of an eye, defying the laws of physics as humans understood them. Now, they faced their greatest challenge yet. The final battle for the Zorax homeworld was about to begin. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that when it came to protecting their friends, no distance was too great, no odds too impossible to overcome. As the first shots were fired, Emily knew that win or lose, this day would go down in the history of both their species. The ultimate test of their alliance had arrived. The space above the Zorax homeworld erupted into chaos as the combined human-Zorax fleet engaged the Kreldor invaders. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, and explosions bloomed like deadly flowers against the backdrop of stars. Colonel Harper's voice rang out across the communication channels. "Remember your training. Protect the Zorax ships and focus fire on the Kreldor command vessels." Emily, monitoring the communications from the bridge, marveled at how smoothly the human and Zorax forces worked together. Months of shared experiences and cultural exchange had forged them into a formidable team. Captain Zorax, his scales shimmering with determination, coordinated the defense of his homeworld. "Activate the planetary shields," he commanded. A shimmer of energy enveloped the planet, deflecting the Kreldor's bombardment. Dr. Tanaka's voice crackled over the intercom. "Colonel, Captain, we've analyzed the Kreldor fleet. Their ships are connected by some sort of quantum entanglement. If we can disrupt it, we might be able to cripple their entire force at once." "Can you do it?" Harper asked, dodging as a nearby explosion rocked the ship. "We'll need to get close to their flagship," Yuki replied. "And we'll need both human and Zorax technology to pull it off." Captain Zorax didn't hesitate. "Then that's what we'll do. All ships, clear a path to the Kreldor flagship." The battle intensified as the Allied fleet fought their way through the Kreldor lines. Human ingenuity and adaptability combined with Zorax advanced technology, creating strategies the Kreldor had never encountered before. Emily found herself working alongside Xel, coordinating communications and helping to synchronize the fleet's movements. "We're almost there," she shouted as the Kreldor flagship loomed before them. Suddenly, a massive energy beam lanced out from the enemy ship, slicing through several Allied vessels. Alarms blared as their shields strained under the assault. "We can't take another hit like that," Dr. Corey warned, his hands flying over the medical bay controls as he treated the wounded. Colonel Harper's jaw set in determination. "Then we won't give them the chance. Dr. Tanaka, are you ready?" "As ready as we'll ever be," came the reply. "Activating the disruption field. Now." A wave of energy pulsed out from the human Zorax ships, invisible to the naked eye, but powerful beyond measure. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the Kruldor ships began to falter. "It's working," Cell exclaimed, his scales flashing with excitement. "Their quantum link is destabilizing." Across the battlefield, Kruldor ships lost power, their weapons falling silent, and their engines dying. The massive flagship drifted helplessly, its once mighty cannons now useless. A cheer went up across the Allied fleet. They had done it. Against all odds, they had defeated an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. As the dust of battle settled, the true magnitude of their victory became clear. Not only had they saved the Zorax homeworld, but they had also liberated countless other species from Kruldor oppression. In the days that followed, representatives from dozens of alien races arrived to thank the human Zorax alliance. The galaxy, it seemed, was entering a new era of peace and cooperation. On the surface of the Zorax planet, a grand ceremony was held. Colonel Harper and Captain Zorax stood side by side as they addressed the assembled crowd of humans, Zorax, and other alien species. "Today, we celebrate more than just a victory," Harper began. "We celebrate the birth of a new galactic community." Captain Zorax continued, "Our alliance has shown that diversity is not a weakness, but our greatest strength. Together, we can achieve wonders beyond imagination." As Emily looked out over the sea of faces, human, Zorax, and a myriad of other species she had yet to learn about, she felt a sense of awe. They had come so far from that first distress call, crossing vast distances of space and overcoming seemingly impossible odds. The journey that had begun as a simple rescue mission had transformed the galaxy. Humanity had not only found its place among the stars, but had also helped forge a new path of unity and exploration for all sentient beings. As the celebrations continued into the night, with music and laughter from 100 different worlds filling the air, Emily knew that this was just the beginning. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now, thanks to the courage and compassion of both humans and their new alien friends, those wonders were within reach. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, and humanity was ready to help write it, side by side with their allies among the stars.